Hello guys, and welcome to a new episode of the Football Plus F1 show. As today we're going to talk about yesterday's Premier League games and Real Madrid game, and we're going to talk about the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the season finale, which decided the title. But let's start with the football first, of course, as Premier League, obviously, which is the best league in the world, even though there was not so many interesting games. West Ham drew 1-1 with Brighton. 1-1. Crystal Palace beat Fulham 2-1. A good win for Fulham side, for Crystal Palace side. A good win for Oliver Glasner's side. They go up to fourth. They've had a great start to the season, unbeaten at the start. Where they beat Liverpool I think a couple of times, and then they had a difficult run of form, but they've recovered it in the last 4 games where they've won 3, except Manchester United, where it's a miracle that Manchester United beat them actually. But great win for Crystal Palace, especially against a good Fulham side who just beat Tottenham recently, so away from home. So very good win for Crystal Palace, and very good win for Glasner. Glasner should be happy about that they're fourth, because I think a week ago he was talking about he doesn't have enough resources. He was not given enough resources in the transfer market. And if you consider it, yes, they didn't sign many players in the summer transfer market, which is why they had to keep Mark Gui at the end, because they couldn't find a replacement for him. But a very, very good win for Crystal Palace, and a very good win for Oliver Glasner, as they are fourth in the Premier League. Can they stay there? It's difficult. I think the top 3. I think the top 2 obviously is between Manchester City and Arsenal. The third position I think should be Chelsea, and then you've got 4th and 5th between like 10th and 11th, where I think anybody could finish in the top 4, top 5. You've got Aston Villa, who in an amazing run of form, but can they keep it up? Let's see. Because sometimes these kind of teams like Aston Villa, when they're in an amazing run of form, but they can have a blip. Some periods of the season, because they don't have the squad and the consistency. Which, with all due respect to Aston Villa, and then you've got the likes of Everton, who are by the way, they're not far away from the Champions League spots. They even 2 points behind the Champions League, where at the start of the season people were considering Everton could be in a relegation battle again. Great position to be in for Everton fans and for David Moyes. Brighton 7th. You've got Liverpool are struggling, but at some point they're going to come back. Tottenham, I'm pretty sure they're going to be up there. United, I'm pretty sure they're going to be up there. They've got a game in hand. You've got Newcastle as well, who are quite inconsistent at times. So it's a very, very tight battle. And if you look at it between the 12th and 4th, it's only 4 points difference. Only 4 points. So it's going to be very, very tight and very, very close for that top 4, top 5 battle between those teams: Chelsea, Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, Sunderland, Liverpool, etc. So yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. And obviously they've got teams. Those teams have also got some key players leaving to AFCON. Like Man United have got some of their key players to go into AFCON. Liverpool have got Salah going to AFCON. I'm going to talk about Salah, by the way. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting battle. Real Madrid lose 2-0. Napoli beat Juventus 2-1 as they go back to the top of the Serie A. However, AC Milan have a game in hand today, which they play later today against Torino. So if AC Milan win, they'll go top of the Serie A. But right now, Napoli are top. Real Madrid lose 2-0 to Celta Vigo. Another disaster. Another shambolic night at the stands of the Bernabeu. They lose 2-0 to Celta Vigo. They never experienced this kind of thing under Carlo Ancelotti. From what I heard, they won all the games against Celta Vigo under Carlo Ancelotti, but they knew now lose against Xabi Alonso with Xabi Alonso. I mean, even people would say about the 2 red cards, but even before the 10 men, they were 1-0 down. Real Madrid had chances. They had possession, they had shots, but if you can't convert it, then what's the point? If you can't convert it to goals, then what's the point? Celta Vigo, when they had chances, they took it. When Real Madrid had chances and possession, but they couldn't convert it. So what's the point of having possession and chances? And so well done to Celta Vigo. They deserve credit for their win. But for Real Madrid, I mean, it's another disaster. Another disaster. I mean, to lose another game, to lose another important game. considering they won against Athletic Bilbao a couple of days ago, you think like, okay, they're gonna get back to their best. But the way I see with these players with Real Madrid, it looks like they've lost confidence with Xabi Alonso. It looks like they're not playing for him. And I remember when I watched the Club World Cup semi-final against PSG when they lost 4-0, and I was watching with my father at the time, and he told me that those players for Real Madrid, they're looking like a team that doesn't play for Xabi Alonso. That they're not listening to what he says. And I was like, nah, come on, it's very early. Yes, I know Real Madrid have got players who are huge egos, and you have to, as a Real Madrid coach, it's not easy. You have to manage the big egos, the big expectations, the fans, the pressure, the media, the president, of course, Florentino Perez, etc. But it's still early for that to happen. And then Real Madrid had a good start. Before the El Clasico, even in the El Clasico, everything was going good. It was going well. Everything was going well. They were unbeaten, they were winning games, no problems. However, there are still the same problems from last season. The players of Real Madrid, they still have big egos. There's too much player power. They still have problems in big games, as it shows this season against Atletico Madrid and against Liverpool. They still have problems in big games. They still defensively they look shaky, and Mbappe and Vinicius Junior's performance is still poor. Jude Bellingham is not back to his best yet. Even yes, he had an injury, but he's not been that good this season. Vinicius has been poor again, and he's been poor for what, since the Ballon d'Or debacle last season against Rodri. So yeah, I mean, for Real Madrid, I mean, yes, they had 2 red cards, but if you look at the game, they had 3 red cards actually. They had 3 red cards. Sorry, Carreras got sent off, Endrick got sent off, and Fran Garcia got sent off. But you for a team like Real Madrid, you can't lose another amount of games and still play that kind of bad football. Because yes, when Xabi Alonso came in, what he came on to solve the problems in the Real Madrid, problems in the dressing room, to solve the egos, and to bring harmony. And because towards the end of under Carlo Ancelotti last season, there's still a lot of problems. They're saying the problems as of now. So what Xabi Alonso was brought in to do was to solve the problems and remove the big egos thing and be in control. And it was working at the start, but since the moment it happened between him and Vinicius in El Clasico, it disappeared. And you can see that the players have lost confidence. They've lost the trust on Xabi Alonso. There's even rumours now that they could even sack Xabi Alonso if they lose to Man City on Wednesday. So there's lots of problems. There's lots of rumours. It's not looking good. And Real Madrid are now 4 points behind behind Barcelona. It's not looking good. Real Madrid, you see players like Vinicius again. He's not stepped up again. He was poor. Bellingham, not good enough again. And some of the Real Madrid players losing their heads. How can he get three cards at home against Celta Vigo? If it was against Barcelona, yeah, I understand it because it's a big game. Against Celta Vigo, 3 red cards for Real Madrid. How's this possible? How is this possible? How can you lose your head that much? You have yellow cards, red cards. Yes, I understand the referee was quite poor, but at the same time, and by the way, the comment from Carreras, he made a comment to the referee which led to the referee giving him a red card. So what was said actually, Carreras was booked actually for ending his marching orders after confronting the referee. And then Marc Carreras told the referee, "You're terrible," which earned him a second yellow card. I mean, how is this referee including as an insult? I mean, this is a perfect example of what Cristiano Ronaldo said years ago, where Premier League referees, you can tell them to F off and they have no problems, but if you do something like that in the Spain referees, they'll have problems. This is a perfect example. How can he send off a guy who told you you're terrible? Terrible. But again, this doesn't solve the problems that Real Madrid have. This doesn't remove the excuses. This doesn't, excuses, but doesn't remove the problems that Real Madrid have, and it's an absolute shambles. It's an absolute shambles. Like they look like a team that is disjointed again. So yeah. Now let's move on to Mohamed Salah and Liverpool's, because the comments he made was, oh dear. He said that the club was throwing him under the bus. He said that he has no relationship with Arne Slot and he's not communicated with him for the last couple of weeks. He's been benched for the last 3 games. And he also said it could be his last ever game at Anfield next week against Brighton. Oh, Mohammed. Listen, I'm an Egyptian and I love Mohamed Salah. But this one, I cannot defend him. Like, I understand, like, maybe Slot, there's lack of communication between... Yes, maybe Salah is right. Maybe there's lack of communication between him and Arne Slot. But solve it in the dressing, privately. Don't solve it publicly. Mohamed Salah is doing what Cristiano Ronaldo did to Erik ten Hag years ago. Similar situation. When he gave the explosive interview with Piers Morgan. Similar situation. What are you doing, Mohamed? And why are you saying those things publicly? You're not helping yourself. What are you going to gain for? What are you going to gain? And just because you were benched for 3 games, you are poor. You've been poor all season. And so what do you expect? Of course you're going to get benched. You've been poor all season. Kevin De Bruyne was getting benched last season when he was coming to an end in his career at Manchester City. He never complained. And he was getting old as well. It happens. Players get older and they stop peaking. It happens. Mohammed, accept it. And this is as an Egyptian, I don't like seeing this, because I want to see Salah in the best of shape or form before AFCON and before the World Cup. But to seem like this is not great. I don't like this. I don't like seeing it. But I'm sorry. Yes, I've criticised Arne Slot multiple times, by the way. I've criticised him multiple times. You guys know me, that I'm not a big fan of Arne Slot's recent comments and what he's done this season. But in this one, you have to criticise Mohamed Salah. No player is bigger than the club. Yeah, you've done... And he also said that I don't need to prove more to earn my position back again. How dare you to think like that? Just because you've been amazing for Liverpool for so many years doesn't mean that, you don't have to earn it. Excuse me, football moves forwards, doesn't move backwards. It's about now and the future. It's not about what happened in the past. Forget the past. Yes, you are fantastic. You've been a brilliant player for Liverpool. But it's now about now and the future. Because that's what Salah is doing. He's focusing on the past. He's focusing on the past. Accept it, Mohammed. You've been terrible this season. You've been terrible. You have been benched for 3 games and he was not brought on against Leeds, as I told after the game in the review when Liverpool drew 3-3. But again, if you have those problems with the coach, say it privately, not publicly. What are you doing? And Salah tends to do this. He did it with Jurgen Klopp, even with Jurgen Klopp. You know, where he benched him for one game against West Ham because his performance was not that great in that season after AFCON. I remember that season. His performance after AFCON was not that great, and he benched him for one game and he was upset. Like Salah tends to do this. Listen, he's a brilliant player, brilliant footballer. But when things doesn't go in his way, he acts like a child. I don't like saying this, but I have to admit it. Why are you acting like this? If you have the problem with the coach, say it privately, not publicly. What are you doing? And you have no relationship, and he's left out of the squad for the Champions League game against Inter, and rightly so, because he can't say that publicly. And like I said, no player is bigger than the club, and I'm glad the club are backing Arne Slot over Salah for this one, because how dare you disrespect a coach like this in front of people? And by the way, one of the last things that Arne Slot needs right now is players like Mohamed Salah coming out in interviews and speaking like this. When your team is so bad, when you're performing badly, and when you're dropping points and you have problems and so many injuries and you have so many problems, the last thing you need is this, to add more salt to the wound. Like, what are you doing, Mohammed? If Liverpool won that game 3-2 against Leeds, I bet you he would have never said this. Never. But because it makes him look good, he can say this publicly, right? So now, where does he go now? Is he going to go to Saudi now? If he's going to leave Liverpool in January, is he going to go to Saudi? I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see the upcoming days and weeks, and I'm interested to see how Arne Slot is going to go about in the press conference, asking those kind of, answering those questions from Mohamed Salah. It's going to be very, very fascinating, honestly. But listen, Arne Slot has been making poor decisions, and I've criticised him all season. But I'm sorry, I feel sorry for him in this one, because the last thing you need when you perform badly is this. So yeah. Now let's move on to Formula 1.